The war of men has become the war of the gods. The chaos that reigns between Greeks and Trojans now extends to Olympus, with each god pulling on the rope of this interminable conflict. They have wrought a knot that cannot be untied. Ares was wounded by Athena, as was Aphrodite. Zeus cannot tolerate such a situation. Gods and goddesses have disobeyed him. From now on, he declares, anyone who helps out either camp will be struck down. They will be hurled into the deepest chasms of hell, the sunless depths of Tartarus, below the dwelling of Hades. There where those who dared to defy Zeus's authority now languish. Zeus is staring in particular at his wife Hera and his daughter Athena, who has just returned from the battlefield. They too have no choice but to accept the sentence of the god of gods. At this, Hera gives vent to her rage. To forbid the gods to intervene is to favor the Trojans. For without the gods' help, and deprived of their best warrior, Achilles, the Greeks cannot hope to win. Galvanized by his mother's anger, Ares, son of Hera, asks Zeus how much longer he will tolerate his daughter Athena manipulating men to attack the immortals. He accuses Zeus of protecting his favorite daughter on the pretext that he bore her himself. Zeus rebuffs Ares sharply. He orders him to leave Olympus and go and have his wounds treated by Asclepius, the healing god. He threatens the god of war with a stay in the underworld if he still dares express himself. Then, the god of gods climbs into his chariot, seizes the whip, lashes his horses with feet of bronze, and sets off twixt heaven and earth. No one knows where he is going, nor what he is plotting. But by the expression on his face, it's clear he has no intention of confining himself to the role of a mere spectator. Ares has joined Asclepius, who lives near Troy. The healing god is the son of Apollo. Two of his sons took part in the war against the Greeks and have already fallen under the blows of the formidable Achilles. When he sent Ares to Asclepius, Zeus suspected that the god of war, barely treated, would surreptitiously join the Trojan camp. He wasn't wrong. Ares intends to take revenge on Athena and her father, even though his fate would be to be struck by the lightning of Zeus and to lie with the dead. Ares stands behind Hector and whispers in his ear. Hector, at the head of his horsemen, goes back on the offensive. Very soon the Greeks are retreating. Even the fearsome Diomedes seems exhausted by the offensive he so bravely led. And until nightfall, the Trojans drive back Agamemnon's soldiers to the shoreline, close to their ships. A sad wind blows through the Greek camp. Neither victor nor vanquished. Old Nestor watches a wall being built between the plain of Troy and the shore. He encourages his soldiers. This wall must be finished before dawn. Evidently, this war, even more than those he might have known in the past, is unpredictable. Once again, fortune has changed sides. The previous day, the Trojans were crumbling under the blows of the young Diomedes. Now they're dominating the battle. Their attacks are more and more urgent. Nestor did well to order this wall to be built. Because if the enemy reaches the boats, nothing will prevent them from being torched, and then no Greek will ever see his homeland again. A man has just crossed the threshold of Priam's palace. He is walking slowly. His advanced years force him to rely on a cane. His name is Antenor, brother-in-law to the king. After bowing to the sovereign, he casts a quick glance at those present. Paris, Priam, Hector, Hecuba, and in a corner, Cassandra. The old man comes once again to ask that Helen be returned to her husband, and that the Greeks be paid all the tributes they demand. All he is doing is expressing the views of the people. After 10 years of resisting the Greeks, the people of Troy are exhausted. Widows and orphans. Such is the kingdom over which Priam now rules. So many glorious heroes have joined the land of the dead. But this time, it is Hector who is opposed. No need to return Helen to Menelaus. Are the Trojans not winning? The Greeks have their backs to the sea. Their ships are within range of archers' arrows. Victory is not far off. Antenor notes that victory has been not far off for 10 years. It vacillates according to the mood of the gods, now with the Greeks, now with the Trojans. Ground gained at dawn is lost at dusk. Offended, Paris reiterates his refusal to return Helen. Antenor again evokes the interest of the people. Hector demands more cavalrymen to harass the Greeks. Priam looks lost. While the men play at war, two women slip away discreetly, Queen Hecuba and her daughter Cassandra. Cassandra possesses the art of predicting the future. But because she refused the advances of Apollo, the god of light condemned her never to be believed by anybody. Cassandra could see. If Paris didn't return Helen to Menelaus, then Troy would burn. And her mother knew this better than anyone. Hecuba couldn't have forgotten the sinister prophecy that her own daughter once revealed to her. Shortly before giving birth to Paris, she had seen a torch come out of her belly, which set the whole city ablaze. Cassandra immediately affirmed that the child to be born would be the cause of Troy's ruin. He had to be put to death if Troy was to be preserved. Nobody believed her. Hecuba and Priam, terrified, accused Cassandra of not loving her new brother. They put her sudden cruelty down to madness. However, Hecuba was uneasy during the handsome Paris's teenage years. When he was old enough to bear arms, she found excuses to keep him away from Troy. As a precaution. She didn't, of course, believe Cassandra's prophecies. But she had seen that torch burn down her city. Deep down inside, Hecuba knows that Cassandra isn't wrong. The choice of Paris is the cause of many of the Trojans' misfortunes. A terrible wind suddenly starts to blow along the wall built by the Greeks. Both sea and sky, until then so calm, are raging. They must strike camp and move the tents far from the tumultuous waves. Nestor joins Agamemnon and Ulysses. They have understood. In their haste to build the wall to counter the Trojan assaults, the Greeks forgot to sacrifice to the god who erects walls, Poseidon. He, builder of the invincible wall of Troy, cannot bear the fact that mere mortals build a wall without honoring his name. Poseidon has been offended. The three kings turn pale. They know how touchy the god of the seas and oceans can be. He punishes all those who forget to offer him a sacrifice. In the Greek camp, it's a rout. There is no possible salvation from the anger of the god with the trident. The fiercest soldiers fall to the ground, pleading for clemency from the sea god. This is the moment Hector chooses. At the head of his horsemen, he sweeps into the Greek camps. The Trojans seem driven by an invincible force. And whenever their enemies try to resist, they are blasted by lightning strikes. The wall that separates the plain from the ships is not far away. Soon, the ships will be in firing range of Hector's archers, and the Greek fleet will be lost. In the fray, old Nestor falls wounded to the ground. There is no one to help him. Diomedes, the young king of Argos, rushes to Nestor and hoists him onto his chariot. He sets off with such tempestuousness that he's about to repel the first of the Trojan horsemen. But a new series of lightning strikes hits his horses, which rear up, dashing himself and old Nestor to the ground. 3 times Diomedes gets back on his chariot, turns around, and faces the son of Priam. And 3 times he is knocked back by a thunderbolt. Sitting atop Mount Ida, Zeus contemplates the scene. He saw Ares slip behind Hector. And also Poseidon, foaming with rage, and striking the ground with his trident to summon thunder and a tidal wave. He says nothing. But what does it matter if his son and brother once again defy his authority? For he holds in his hands a golden scales which seems to amuse him greatly. They are the scales of fate. On each of the plates is a figure of death. One represents the Trojans, the other the Greeks. But it is the Greeks that dips towards the ground, while the Trojans is rising skywards. And as soon as the Trojans falter, Zeus, with a breath, redresses the balance and the Greeks retreat. The reason he forbade the gods from taking part in the Trojan War was to better serve those he wants to win. What matters to Zeus at this stage of the war is to honor the promise made to Achilles' mother. The Trojans will beat the Greeks until Agamemnon apologizes to the humiliated hero. Night is falling. The 2 armies must stop fighting. In his tent, surrounded by his companions, Agamemnon no longer hides his worry. The dream sent to him by the master of Olympus was a lie. He promised him that he would conquer Troy. But now he covers him with shame at the head of an army in bits. Zeus deceived him. All that remains is to set sail and return to Greece. Everything is finished. You cannot fight the king of the gods. Ajax, Ulysses, Menelaus. All 3 kings stare at the ground in total silence. Only after a long time is the voice of Diomedes heard. If Agamemnon is really thinking of returning to Greece, then he should go, and those who wish should go with him. Nobody will hold them back, but he, young Diomedes, will remain, and others will surely rally to him. They will fight until the end, until Troy is taken, or until their own death by divine lightning bolts. Old Nestor approves. There is a way to get out of the dead end into which the Greeks have strayed. Nestor says the name on everyone's lips, but that no one dares utter. Achilles. The time has come for Agamemnon to repair the outrage he inflicted on the hero. By removing Briseis, the young girl he sees as his reward for bravery in combat, he caused Achilles to withdraw. Achilles waits in his tent, irritated by his own side, for the King of Kings to change his decision and apologize to him. Agamemnon understands. In fact, he understood a long time ago. Without Achilles and his army, the proud Myrmidons, the Greeks have no chance of reversing the course of the war. He hates this idea, but he has no choice. With death in the soul, he announces that he is not only willing to return Briseis, but also to shower Achilles with presents. All welcome the decision of the king Mycenae. To convey it to the son of Thetis, Agamemnon chooses Ajax and Ulysses. Achilles is there, in his tent, lying on cushions. At his side, his faithful friend Patroclus. Surprised, Achilles puts down his lyre. He rises and asks the kings the reason for their visit. Ulysses speaks. He knows that if Achilles doesn't decide to calm the anger within him, in his heart he will miss the tumult of battle. So, Ulysses describes to Achilles the tragedy that the Greeks have undergone since he retired from the fight. Hector, who seems invincible. The fleet, at the risk of being torched. The end approaching. He pauses, and, encouraged by the silence of Achilles, relays Agamemnon's offer, listing all the presents that the King of Kings will lay at his feet if the hero agrees to return and fight by their sides. Will Achilles agree to curb his great anger? Silence falls once more. Ulysses stares at Achilles. On this part of the earth, hearts beat faster. Will Achilles agree?